As the hearing moves forward, one thing becomes clear: this is only the beginning. The prosecution is building a case filled with disturbing details and layered evidence. The defense is carefully challenging every step. And in the center of it all sits David Burke, still silent, still unreadable. The question of what truly happened to Celeste Rivas Hernandez remains at the heart of everything. But now, it's no longer just about what happened. It's about what can be proven. Because in a courtroom, truth and proof aren't always the same. And as more evidence emerges, the story continues to unfold. Slowly, uncomfortably. And with each new detail, one question lingers louder than ever: what really happened that night? Amid all the testimony, evidence, and legal arguments, there is one presence that grounds the entire room: the parents of Celeste Rivas Hernandez. Sitting through every moment, every detail, every image. They weren't public figures before this. They didn't ask to be part of something like this. And yet, there they are, facing it head-on. When graphic images are shown, the reaction is immediate. Pain, grief, and silence. And still, they remain. Observers in the courtroom begin to notice something in their presence, not just sorrow, but determination. A quiet resolve to see the process through, no matter how difficult it becomes. Because for them, this isn't about legal arguments or courtroom strategy. It's about their daughter. And the need for answers. While prosecutors continue building their case, the defense begins laying the groundwork for doubt. Representing David Burke are experienced attorneys who approach each witness with precision. Their strategy becomes clear: question everything. How was the evidence collected? Who handled it? Was it properly documented every step of the way? Even the smallest inconsistencies are brought forward, not necessarily to disprove the prosecution's claims outright, but to weaken them. Because in a case like this, certainty matters. And if the defense can show that any piece of evidence was mishandled, contaminated, or left unaccounted for even briefly, it could change how everything is interpreted. It's a quiet but calculated approach. One that doesn't need to prove innocence, only doubt. Then comes one of the most unsettling pieces of testimony so far: a blue inflatable pool. According to prosecutors, it may have been used during the dismemberment of the body. When investigators found it, it didn't appear stained. In fact, it seemed unusually clean. It carried the scent of fresh laundry, and inside it was something even more telling: a rolled-up dryer sheet. At first glance, it might seem like nothing. But in context, it suggests something else entirely. That the item had been washed, possibly scrubbed, cleaned in an attempt to remove evidence. Forensic testing later indicated the possible presence of blood, even if it was no longer visible. And just like that, another layer is added to the narrative. Not just what happened, but what someone may have tried to erase. As the hearing continues, another unexpected element is introduced: Celeste Rivas Hernandez's passport card. Found months after her death, not in the car, not at the scene, but miles away on the side of a road in Santa Barbara County. The discovery raises immediate questions. How did it get there? Who put it there? And why? The location itself doesn't seem ideal for someone trying to permanently dispose of evidence, which only adds to the mystery. Prosecutors hint at a possible connection to vehicle data, suggesting that the movements of the Tesla could eventually tie everything together. But for now, the passport stands as a quiet but powerful piece of the puzzle, one that suggests this story didn't end where the body was found. It continued. And someone may have taken deliberate steps to extend that distance. But it's not just the act itself that prosecutors are focusing on, it's what they claim happened afterward. And that's where one unexpected detail begins to stand out: air fresheners. Not one or two, but at least 11 of them, found throughout the Tesla. Some in plain sight, others tucked away in different compartments. And most notably, some placed inside the front trunk, the same location where the remains were allegedly found. That detail alone shifts the tone of the case. Because it suggests awareness. It suggests an attempt to hide something, not visually, but by scent. Prosecutors begin to frame this as part of a larger effort to cover up what had taken place. And suddenly, these small, almost insignificant objects take on a much darker meaning. They're no longer just items in a car, they're part of a narrative. one that implies someone knew exactly what they were trying to conceal. Then the testimony begins to dig deeper, shifting toward the physical evidence, specifically the Tesla where Celeste Rivas Hernandez's remains were discovered. Prosecutors begin constructing a narrative piece by piece, using forensic testimony to suggest what may have happened inside that vehicle. One of the most striking revelations comes from criminalists who describe the presence of blood not just inside the car, but beneath it. According to their testimony, blood appears to have seeped through rubber floor mats and into the brick flooring of the garage where the vehicle was parked. It paints a vivid and deeply disturbing picture. Not just of violence, but of aftermath. Of something that didn't stay contained. As this testimony unfolds, the courtroom grows heavier. Because this isn't speculation anymore, it's a reconstruction. And every detail seems to bring the prosecution one step closer to answering the question of how this crime may have happened. As day 2 of the preliminary hearing begins, the focus briefly shifts away from evidence and onto behavior. David Burke is brought into the courtroom, initially in shackles, before they're removed at the request of his attorneys. From that moment on, he barely moves. He doesn't take notes. He doesn't lean in to speak with his legal team unless necessary. Instead, he stares forward, motionless, detached. Observers in the room begin to notice it too. A courtroom sketch artist, someone who has witnessed countless trials, quietly remarks that his demeanor feels indifferent, almost as if the outcome doesn't concern him. Others describe it as off, even unsettling. In a room filled with tension, emotion, and grief, his stillness stands out. Especially when considering what's at stake, a life lost, and another potentially facing life behind bars. And yet, he gives nothing away. What if the most important detail in a courtroom isn't what's being said, but what isn't? As the prosecution begins laying out a case filled with disturbing claims and graphic evidence, all eyes quietly drift back to one person, David Burke. Sitting there in silence, expression unreadable, he doesn't react the way anyone expects. No shock. No anger. No visible fear. Just stillness. And in a case centered around the brutal death of 14-year-old Celeste Rivas Hernandez, that silence becomes unsettling. Because while prosecutors describe a calculated act, one involving violence, dismemberment, and a chilling attempt to cover it up, there's only one person in that courtroom who truly knows what happened. And the more the details unfold, the more that silence starts to feel like something else entirely.